There are many people who find themselves on the wrong side of the law and can't afford an attorney, but it is your right to have a proper defense. If you do find yourself in trouble, the public defender is here to serve you. Welcome to My County, the show that explores services and programs provided to you by the County of Los Angeles. I'm Stacey Galandi. Now, joining me today in studio is Ronald Brown. He is the public defender for the County of Los Angeles. Hello, Ronald. How are you?
I'm fine.
Is Ron okay?
Ron is perfect.
Ron is good. Well, now, this is something, you're sort of in your honeymoon phase here as public defender. You've been in office since January, but you have been a public defender for many years.
Yes.
Why is it so important to you to be involved with public service?
Public service is a debt we all owe. When I went to law school, I thought I was going to law school to make money. I quickly realized that lawyers have a duty to their clients, to society, and the best way for me to pay that duty was to represent clients, those who couldn't afford attorneys.
You had a rough upbringing. I mean, you were many siblings, but so much of the community gave to you, so this was sort of your way of giving back, right?
Absolutely. I don't like to harp on it. I grew up on welfare, lived in the projects. I received food stamps, and there's no shame in that. But I owe the taxpayers of LA County, and this is my way of giving back. You're right.
Exactly, and obviously many people who find themselves in certain dire situations, you know, they need help, and perhaps that's why they're in trouble in the first place. So for you, what exactly is a public defender? Why does the public defender department exist?
Okay, just a little bit of history, if that's okay.
Sure.
We were the first public defender's office in the nation. LA taxpayers should be very proud of that fact. Back in 1912, there was no such thing as a public defender. People did not have a right to attorneys. Back in 1913, the County of LA authorized the public defender's office, and we opened our doors in 1914. The very first public defender's office in the nation, the largest public defender's office in the nation, and the best public defender's office in the nation. But to answer your question, what we're there to do is represent those who are indigent, and what that means is those who cannot afford their own attorney. And believe it or not, there's no set amount for that. Some people will say, well, if you make X amount of dollars, you don't qualify, but it's a sliding scale. You might not qualify for an attorney on a murder case, strike that, on a DUI case, because private attorneys will take that case for very little money. But on a murder case, almost everyone qualifies. So it sort of depends.
Interesting. You mentioned private attorney. What is the difference between having a public defender and having a private attorney?
I smile because I know good and well that the major difference is we're not ruled by money. What I mean by that is when you're a private attorney, first and foremost, you've got to get paid. I mean, they're not being compensated by the taxpayers. We are. And so what that means is when Mr. Green doesn't show up, when the money stops coming in, the defense begins to degrade. In our case, if a client needs expert services, he gets expert services. If we need to dedicate 50 hours to his case, he gets 50 hours. We can be true lawyers. We can say, look, Mr. So-and-so, your case doesn't deserve this kind of attention. You only need such and such. But private attorneys, I hate to say this, but it's about getting their money back. That's not to say they're not
billable hours.
Billable
I think
hours.
Are the two evil words.
I mean, it's not to say they're not dedicated. But if the money doesn't come in, they can't feed their families. And we are, honest to goodness, criminal defense attorneys who don't concern ourselves with how much the client makes or how much his defense is going to cost.
What's interesting, though, is the public defender. I mean, there's a misconception out there that because you are there and you have this amazing staff of, I think, 700 attorneys underneath you, that there's this misconception that because it's given to people that it's not as good as going out and hiring a very high-priced lawyer.
You're absolutely right. One of the things that I fight against every day is that misconception that you get what you pay for. And since you're not paying for a public defender, therefore the public defender must be worthless. And unfortunately, there are attorneys out there who helped feed that misconception. They want that misconception. They want people going to them rather than public defenders. Public defenders, as I said earlier, we are actually the best lawyers in not only the county of LA, but some of the best lawyers in the state. We know the courtrooms, we know the judges, we know what the cases are worth. Many times, private attorneys, when they've taken the money from their client, will march themselves right up to the public defender's office, knock on our door and say, what do I do next? What's this judge like? What can I get for this case? What's this DA like? Our PDs know that because they work that courtroom,
Yeah.
they work that judge, and they know the penal code. We invest a year of training in each and every one of our public defenders, each and every one of them. Private attorneys don't get that. Many times, what happens is they get out of law school, they hang up their shingle, and they go for it.
Yeah.
That's not to say they're bad people, but we are the best public defense attorneys in the nation.
That's great. Well, clearly when you're dealing with these kinds of cases, it's got to be very tough, very difficult, because I think the general consensus is everyone's guilty before being proven guilty.
That's the
Or-
problem.
Mm-hmm.
People will always say things like, where there's smoke, there's fire, and the police don't arrest people who don't do things. One of the flaws in our system is once the police have made an arrest, they like to focus in on then convicting. They stop looking for alternative suspects, and many times alternative suspects simply wander away. And there are innocent people who go to jail. And that's why you need a public defender, because people will say to themselves, I will never be in that situation. Well,
But you
yeah,
never know.
you
I mean-
never know. I mean, and yes, you will be in that situation. You drive a Toyota Prius or something. Another Toyota Prius goes flying by who just committed a bank robbery. The cops happen to stop you. You look vaguely like that person. Next thing you know, you're in jail, and you're talking and you're talking. You don't know, but you are facing criminal charges, and you need help. And that's what we're there for. So people make that assumption that he's done something because he was arrested. Not true. Or they make the assumption that he's going to be convicted because cops never lie. Also not true.
Right.
Lee Baca, who's a friend of mine, is a great person. The sheriff of LA has a huge department. And like any other huge department, we have people in those departments that sometimes aren't as good as other people in the department. I don't have 700 perfect lawyers. The sheriff doesn't have thousands of perfect deputies.
Employees, yeah, deputies. Mm-hmm.
LAP doesn't have thousands of perfect employees, and that's why we're there. We're the foot soldiers of the Constitution to make sure they do things right.
That's a big undertaking, I'm sure. So
It is.
For you, what are the goals of your department now that you have been in office this year? And what are your goals when it comes to improving or community outreach or helping people who really do find themselves in trouble and trying to change those perceptions?
I'm glad you asked that. What we do is we actually go out. We have a program called Parks After Dark,
Okay.
where we go out and we educate kids on what the system is there for, how to stay out of trouble, how to behave if you are stopped by the police. We're not saying to go out there and obstruct justice, but just how to behave. People think that they shouldn't, they have certain rights and that they're going to stand up for their rights. The worst thing you can do is get in an officer's face and start pointing your finger in his face. Because you have rights, but you also have the right to be stupid. And stupidity will get you locked up faster than anything else.
Don't make it worse than it is. Yeah.
And as far as outreach, we go to churches and talk. We go to law schools and talk. We go to high schools and talk. We want people to know what we're there for. We want people to know what their rights are. And if people know what their rights are, they're far more likely to assist the officers without hurting themselves.
Exactly. Not putting themselves back in a corner.
Exactly.
So, thank you. Well, now, if you need any information regarding the Public Defender's Office, you can go to the website at pd.co.la.ca.us. A little alphabet soup there,
Well
but they'll
done.
get the help that they need. So
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I really appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good luck with everything.
Thanks.
Now, please join us next time right here on My County and learn more about programs and services brought to you by the County of Los Angeles. I'm your host, Stacey Galandi. Thanks so much for joining us.